We're going to talk a lot about our timing. Our timing is super important, okay? If we don't have correct timing, we're not able to teach this horse to really anything. We need to have that correct timing of knowing when to release and when to apply pressure. Now, how I train, there, good girl. How I train is I apply pressure to that horse when it does what I don't want, and I release pressure to that horse when it does what I do like and what I'm looking for, okay? And so right there, you can see I'm not in here really loud with a lot of energy, sending her off being real big, because if I did that, quite honestly, this mare would probably just jump out. She's got some jumps. She was jumping out of the haltering chute, right? She's a big mare. So I need to have some feel with it. We hear a lot, timing and feel. Oh, he's got good feel. He's a great trainer. What I'm looking for is I'm looking to be able to approach, put a little bit of pressure on. Now, to this horse, this right here is a lot of pressure. Okay? So I need to kind of go with what she's presenting to me and work with what she's presenting. Okay? So as I approach her, anytime she engages and gives me two eyes, I'm going to release that pressure. You see? There's a communication going on right here. Now, here's a thing that I've learned over the years is horse communication is unique. You could have any kind of philosophy or training style you want, but we have to go back to facts. Horses communicate through body language. That's a fact. Horses are herd animals. That's a fact. Okay? So horses, if put in a natural environment, would much rather be in a herd together than separated out in solitary. Okay? So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to understand what she's telling me. Communication is so important. So when I first started training horse, I said, how do I communicate better with a horse? Understanding how they communicate with each other and understanding the hierarchy really has been an asset in my training career. And so I have to know she's a herd animal. That's fact. She's a prey animal. That's fact. Okay? She's part of a hierarchy in that herd. That's fact. And she communicates through pressure and release within the herd through body language. Okay? Those are all facts. So, as I approach this mare, you can see when I put a little bit of this pressure, as she starts to look at me and engage with me, that's where I'll pull the pressure away. Now, you notice I pulled the pressure away. I make it very clear to her that I want to become that alpha horse with her. I want to become that leader for two reasons. If she's looking to me for that leadership, when we get put into a situation that makes it uncomfortable, she's going to check in rather than just kind of take off and say, save yourself, I'm out of here, right? Also, when I start to, what are we doing when we're training a horse? We ask them to move their feet. We ask them to get in the trailer. We're moving their feet. What is that doing? That is asserting what the dominant horse does to the less dominant horse. That's what they do. So in the horse's brain, when I'm saying walk or lunge, give to pressure, and I'm moving their feet, I'm saying I'm dominant over you. You minimize how much you back away from your horse, you will see an increase in respect because there's a lot more of that assertive but then also gentle approach. So it's just understanding the body language, and I figured that out. So now if I'm round penning that horse, so let's do that. Let's just teach her to kind of move off. Maybe I'll just kind of approach her a little. But I'm going to send her off. Now, she doesn't know. She doesn't really know, but you see as I sent her off, she kind of got a little sticky, and then she went off, and I kind of softened the pressure. Now, you can see I'm pushing her ribs forward in this direction as I'm driving her off. Push, push. Good girl. See, I softened right there. Now she's starting to understand that pressure's not bad. So if I wanted her to stop, I'm going to step in front of that drive line. Then when she looks at me, it's kind of hard with that rope. There, I'll release the pressure by turning, and now I'll disengage the hip. She doesn't know what that means. She's going forward and she's fighting that rope. So we'll grab that rope and we'll try it again. But instead of backing away, I cut them off and I swing around. I've just altered so I'm not backing away, right? And it's been very effective as far as to increase that respect. And it's just been a game changer. So if you ever have disrespect with your horse, just try it. I'm not trying to push all my ideas on you guys. I'm trying to just teach you what I've learned and, you know, share with you. And if it works for you, great. Trust me, I'm over here with my pom-poms and high kicks rooting you on. I want success. There's a million different ways to train a horse. My job today is to teach you exactly how I do it. One thing I will say, these guys thrive and they crave confident leadership. Figure out what works for you, be confident in that, and they'll excel. It may be different from me, but what I'm saying is they thrive and crave confident leadership. Be confident. Don't question yourself. I've gotten into more issues when I'm questioning what I'm doing. And any time that I question what I'm doing within my career and with a horse that I'm working, I always go back to what would the dominant horse in the herd do? And that's been pretty effective for me. Okay, so right here I'm going to start working on the touch. So I'm just going to touch her. She realized she got a little scared. Right there she got quiet, so then we're going to release. Because I'm preparing her to use that stick to grab the lead rope. So I'm just going to come up and I'm just going to swing this rope over. You can see that she's realizing that's not going to kill me. She actually licked and chewed. So this time I'm going to wait till she kind of checks in a little bit. I'll just kind of move it. She can feel a fly land on her. So as soon as she kind of checks in and gives me that second eye like that, that's your release. So we'll start to build on that. Now you see, as I started to walk away, you see how she licked her lips? She went, oh, so that release was educational for her. Okay, so now I'm going to kind of start to walk this way. The disengage of the hindquarter is my best ally. So that's what we're going to start working on with these horses. I'm going to walk this way, and what I'm looking for is for her to move that hip away and start to engage and come with me this way. So I'm going to keep the pressure, keep the pressure, keep the pressure, keep that pressure going. Now right here, I've kind of cut her off there. She looks at me, then I'll kind of bring the pressure, and we'll kind of go this way. Keep that pressure because she went forward. Right about there. We'll release the pressure. Okay, so that's all pretty good. I'm liking that. So now as I approach, I'm going to put that whip over, and I'm just going to kind of rub her with that whip, touch her with that whip. You see, I wouldn't be able to do this in a 60-foot round corral, right? So I'm just going to kind of keep letting her know this is not going to hurt you. When she gets quiet, that's her little spot. When she gets quiet, then we'll slowly take this off, and we'll walk away and give her a release. But you notice I didn't back away. I'm rotating my body. So now I've kind of prepared her to touch her. So now we'll grab this. This is a cattle sorting stick. You can get it at Tractor Supply, Murdoch's, little electrical tape, and an Ace Hardware hook. In gentling your wild horse, extremely useful. Okay, because it's a lot stiffer than a whip, right? So this is what I'm going to use to grab that rope. This is what I use to fish ropes around her feet when we get to that point. So I'm going to approach. Right there, I'm going to release because she checked in. So that was a threshold. Right, we're going to break down the steps. I'm going to approach, and there I'm going to release because she checked in. I'm going to approach, right there, hang out. That's about her threshold, right there. So you see how I'm inchworming a little closer with our releases. Then I'm going to touch her right here on the withers, just real softly. With the backside of that hook, just kind of rub her and show her that it's not going to hurt you. Good. She doesn't like that. So I'm going to stay with her. Stay with her. She really does. She thinks it's a fly, right? So she's like, I don't like that. She's getting a lot better about that rope. So the cool thing is I can even kind of come up as she's kind of going around, and I can use this little hook to kind of save her from that rope. There we go. See, I was able to use this rope or this hook there, and now we got it off of her. Now this horse is not halter broke, but we're going to start teaching her. So I'm going to put just a little pressure right here, not overwhelm her, and she's going to probably fight it just a little bit. There, and soften. We're going to actually save her from that rope. So you see that hook was a super important as she was going around. Now she got all scared. Did I take the pressure away? No, I just stayed with her. That her getting nervous was my opportunity to maybe push a little bit harder, right? And now I'm just going to kind of come at this side, push that hip, and ask her just to kind of give to that halter. And if she fights it, that's normal. There you go. She's never experienced any kind of pressure on her face like this. So we got to teach her. A little bit of pressure, stay with her, release. Okay? Just softly start to teach her to give to that pressure. Good, right there. And you know, she's 5, she's going to fight the pressure. That's very normal. So I'm pushing the hip and bringing the head to me. Stay with her, let her fight it, let her stay with it. Good, soften right there. You saw she got kind of emotional. I wasn't fighting her and forcing her. I was just kind of staying with her. Again, I could not do that in a bigger area. Okay? So we're going to kind of just real soft put a little bit of pressure here. Good. And release right there. You see, that was her first real good give right there. Okay? Then I like to switch eyes as often as I can. I'm going to come on this right side. A little bit of pressure. She wants to put me back in that other ear. That's okay. That other side. Stay with her. And that's just her fighting that halter. Just try to stay with her as best you can. And you know, you could go, I'm going to let her get quiet. You could go quite a bit slower and let her like feel this pressure a little bit more, like stepping on it, and that would break it down. But I'm just trying to say, hey, let's just give to this pressure. And she says, I want to fight that pressure. So I just try to maintain, good, and soften. And let her just think about that. Now, what we have to be careful of, and what I like to do is I do like to expose them, and I actually personally like to get reactions like that so that she learns that that didn't get her anywhere. If I baby her and go super, super, super soft all the time, at some point she's going to have a little meltdown, and we got to work through it. So what I encourage you guys to do is find your threshold of what you're comfortable. You might be like, I'm not comfortable doing that. Don't have to. Break it down, right? Break it, maybe use a longer rope, whatever, right? Point is that it's good to teach them that that's not the right answer, okay? Now, as she goes this way, this is going to be real important. Try to stay in position as best I can. She's just fighting it. And she's just thinking, so right here, as soon as she softens, that was much better. She got a little quiet, so I'll soften that rope. Good. Good. And then we'll kind of come this way a little bit as she, we'll just kind of stay with her. Just kind of stay with her. She's just kind of fighting. She's trying to keep putting me in that left eye. So I'll just stay with her until I get in that right eye. That's where I'll soften. And that's where I'll kind of hang out with her. There. More exposure to this side. And that's very common. It's very common for a horse to be more comfortable with you on one side versus the other. So the best thing I can do is just kind of stay with her and spend more time on this side. Now, that was pretty good. So now I'll say, I know you want me back on this side, but guess what? It's going to be my idea. Good. Good girl. Right? So rather than her flip out and put me in that side, I'm going to put myself in that side to say, I understand what you're saying. You would rather me in that side, so I'll do that. But I'll do that as my idea, not as your idea. So I'm just going to kind of ask her to give right here, just real soft. And she's going to kind of, right here, she's kind of locked up a little bit. So I'll just kind of, right there. She gave just a little bit. And you know, we got to remember, this horse is 5 years old. You got to take your time. She's not a 5-day-old colt. She's going to fight that pressure, but you see she's learning. She's starting to figure it out. And you notice as she gets real emotional and worked up, I try to stay calm and even keeled, right? And as I start to go from side to side, this is a technique that I like to do. I'm going to come on one side. Now I got to make sure she's a little more halter broke to do this, but I'm just going to kind of go side to side. Ask you to come this way. And you got to be careful that she doesn't try to spin and pull you and get that hindquarter to come around. But this is just teaching her to figure this out. As soon as I can get her to kind of soften up a little bit, we're going to give her a soak. And we're going to work with the other 2-year-old, gelding. And this is just part of halter breaking, right? Like I said, you're not going to get a wild horse to come in and you put a little pressure on their face. In her mind, she's being attacked. She's fighting for her life right now. She is not trying to be a naughty horse, right? She's simply trying to fight for her life, saying, I cannot be trapped. I'm going to die. There's a predator in here with me in this little tiny cage, and you can come in. There's a predator in here, and I need to get out of there. This is a very common reaction. And this is the reality, is it's not always bunny rabbits and rainbows. Now, I will say, could we go slower pace and break down every step? For example, could we put a halter on and have her wear that halter for about 4 or 5 hours before we even walk in the pen? And then she's going to be a little bit more stepping on the rope and a little bit more comfortable with it? Absolutely. Okay, I'm just having to go with what's presented to me. Okay, so now that we got her a little bit giving to that pressure, I'm just going to start working on my approach. So you notice my position is very important. You're going to hear me talk a lot about all day about position. So what I do is I kind of will rock back, then I'll take a step, and then I'll rock forward, and I'll just try to get her to engage. Now she could strike at me. I've got her kind of cornered, but I'm just watching for a little softness or a little curiosity. I don't actually want to touch her yet. There is my release. You see? I just kind of hang in there. And then I'm teaching her. She's licking her lips. So she's going, wow, this is not so bad. I'm not dying. I'm getting releases. I'm not just getting flooded. Right? And so then I'll approach again. But notice if I was to turn like this, that's a lot more pressure. So I'm in a good position to just kind of approach sideways like this. Also, when I reach my hand out, it's not in an aggressive way. It's in a very relaxed, kind of more, just let her kind of figure out that I'm not here to hurt her. So I'm just going to kind of, now she's going to seek that release. So see how quickly she wanted to engage because she's seeking that release. Easy. Easy. What was it? B? Spider. You need your rope? That was a reaction. It's okay. For having my 6. You see how she's starting? So my idea is I want her to touch me. Right? Every time she engages, I get out of there. Right? I was chasing them. I need them to chase me. Right? When I start to get her interest, I'm going to get out of there. There. See? I actually touched her hair with my knuckle, or she touched me. So our first touch, there, she touched me. You see, and if that was broken down fairly quickly with a stage of releases at the correct, or what I feel was the correct time. Timing is everything, you guys. Now, you say, well, could she bite you? Sure, she's a wild animal. She could do anything. She could strike me. You know, I'm just having to go with what I feel is, correct. The other thing I like to do, let her smell me. There, she just touched me there. Now, that was just a little bit of an aggressive touch. So we got to watch that she doesn't start to do it to get the release. So then what I'll start to do is adapt to where I start to, as she starts to get, because she's older too, she's like, I'm going to do it, so you get away. That's really what she wants. She wants the release right now, right? And so I'm going to kind of hang in there until she kind of gets quiet. She got a little startled there. And you notice I have this rope. I have tension on the rope. Now watch what I do as far as timing with tension on the rope. I'm just going to kind of hang out. There. I'll get quiet right there. Okay. So that was really good. Notice how when I released and I pulled back, she kind of softened and she licked and chewed and she started to get less defensive and more relaxed. Look how relaxed she is. A lot better. So we're starting to build a connection a little bit with her, and this is just our first session. Okay? So I kind of like to also, when I'm working with these horses, stay away from repetition, and I try to not get into routine. I found like repetition, they'll start to anticipate, and then we really start to lose that connection, okay? So then I'll go between touching her and getting back to this halter. I really want to start working on the disengage of the hindquarter. So I'm just going to kind of push that hip. Right now she's in what we talked about, freeze mode. So then she's going to blow. Right there. Good girl. I like what she did there. She didn't necessarily, I'm going to grab a whip. She didn't necessarily disengage, but what she did do is she hit the end of that halter pressure and didn't freak out. So we're getting somewhere. That's why I like to go between the halter pressure, back to the touching, to the desensitizing, not overwhelm them. So now let's try this again. I'm going to push that hip. Gives me a little extension. Move that hip, please. Good girl. I'm looking for one step, one give. Good girl. There we go. There's a lick and chew. So what I'm trying to do is get her, if I can push her hip away, the next session I can draw her head to me. Right? This is the foundation of catching. So if I push that hip, good girl. And then I'll soften right there. Now what I really want to work towards is her pivoting on the front end and moving the hindquarter. She doesn't know what I'm asking though, but I'm teaching her through the release of pressure. So I'm going to start off softly, cue. Good girl. That time I did not touch her. I just pushed her with my cue. And see, every time I give her the release and I pause, she licks her lips. Good girl. I love that. I'm going to leave that side alone, and I'm going to try to come on this right side. So now you see what I'm doing is I'm moving the horse's feet, right? But I'm doing it in a series of soft cues, and we're starting to figure this out. Cue. Cue. Keep cueing. She's going to kind of fight that pressure a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of pull on that because she's fighting that pressure. Just try to get her to give to it. There. She's a little bit stickier on this right side. Good. Good girl. Soften right there. So she wants to fight this right side just a little bit. You see, you wonder why my hands are a little bit rough. You see, as we go, though, the little freakouts are minimizing. Because what I showed her is when she freaked out the first few times and ran around and threw her legs, thank you, her legs on the panels and got all wound up. Did I get upset about it? Did I get worried about it? No, I just hung in there with her and it didn't get her anywhere, right? But what's getting her somewhere is just to softly give. Good. She wants, so here what we're, there, that was a give right there. The tricky part is we're having to do two things at once. Get her to soften to the pressure of the disengage, but then also she wants to fight the pressure of the halter. So that's why I try to keep this slack, and I'm trying more to push the hip than pull the face. When she goes forward, then I will kind of come around and there I'll release when she starts to give. There. So the timing is super important. Move that hip. And my position is very important. Here we go. And this first couple times, you know, it might take a little bit. So just stay with her. She's still just pretty upset about that halter. So we'll say you can give to it. And you can she'll say, I'll throw dirt on you. I don't know how that happened. I think I got it down. Whew. It's a little cold. Good girl. Okay, so that wasn't horrible. I don't want to so saturate her. I'm going to come back on this side and we'll try it on this side. Have some success. What a good girl. See how that rope stayed slack? Okay, so now I'm going to come up and use my whip. Now I use it to direct her, but I'm also pretending like this is also now my hand. So you see now I'm kind of in a neutral position, and I'm just going to start touching her and petting her. So I come up, stay with her, stay with her. Good. Start petting her. Because two things we have with a horse. We have where the horse, she is, good girl. Stay with her. She's just like, don't touch me. I don't like that. But see how she just reached back and bit that whip, right? Well, I would much rather it be the whip than my arm. And she's not trying to be mean. She's just saying, that's not supposed to touch me. Right? That's not supposed to touch me. But now she's at the point where she's like, that's not hurting me though either. See? She's trying to bite me. But that's okay. I'll just keep petting her. And right there we take it away. You see? When she went to bite it, we just kept petting her. Did not affect me whatsoever. Right? So I'll come up and now look. Pet her. Good, you didn't bite it that time. I'll give you that release. Right? Bring it up, pet her. Good girl. And then release. A lot of approach and retreat. You notice I'm not backing away, I'm pivoting a lot. I'm bringing the energy up, the stimulation, anxiety, whatever you want to call it, and then I'm taking it away. That was much better. So we'll hang in there just a little bit longer and we'll start touching new areas. And then release. And then we'll bring it up here. We'll touch her on different spots, like on her neck. Good girl. Now she's realizing that this is not hurting you. This is not hurting her, excuse me. There. And then we'll release. And then we're going to come up and we're going to start working on the forehead. Right? There. As she softens, see how I get slack with this rope? Okay. So now I'm petting her on that forehead. She's doing great. Now watch, this is an extension of my arm. So I start, because two things is, the bubble, her bubble between me and tight with her, I'm gonna redirect her so you guys can see this a little bit easier. So it's a good opportunity to go back to my disengage. Good girl. Good girl. That's getting nice, you guys. Good girl. What a nice mare. So now watch what I'll do. I have my whip. Okay, so this is a good technique that I like to do. I'm going to come up. I'm going to pet her. And I'm going to release. Okay, I'm going to come in a little bit closer. Pet her. I'm shrinking that bubble down. I'm going to release. Then I'm going to make my whip about 2 feet long. Pet her. Stay with her. Soften that rope and release. Now watch, I'll make it even shorter. Pet her. If she gets too worried, see, I'll just put a little bit of halter pressure there. Right when she gets quiet, I soften that halter pressure, just like that. And then I get out of there before she gets out of there. You can train a horse really quickly, and then we'll just wean off of that stick. And then I'll come up. And I'll keep that halter pressure. It's a lot different, is that this touch is a little different than that stick, so she's just going to have to figure it out. Good girl. I try to maintain the contact, soften my rope right there. Maintain that contact. Release. Good girl. Stay with her. Stay with her. She is, you're saying, well, she's getting little micro releases. Yeah, but I'm also keeping that steady pressure on the rope. So now I'll turn my hands over, soften that, soften that, soften that, and then let's get out of there. And that was a big deal right there. So you see how I baby stepped it all the way up. We've been working with this horse, I mean, time-wise, maybe half hour because I've been talking a lot. But you see, we've gotten all the way to touch her in that short amount of time just by breaking down every little step. Touching is rewarding? No. Touching is desensitizing. Stimulating. Putting pressure on. Okay. Good girl. Now watch, as soon as she starts to get quiet, watch me soften this rope. Right about there. See? There's a lot of, believe it or not, a lot of feel right here too. Good girl. Right there, I don't like that because she kind of got pushy. So I'm just going to kind of hang out with her. And if you look at her eyes, there, she was a little bit in freeze mode. You see how she's starting to blink more? That's where I want to get out of there and silk her. But what I was going to say is, with these horses, what I found is short sessions multiple times a day. If, like, let's say you have 2 hours to work with your horse, I would rather work maybe one 45-minute session and then, you know, 6, or I don't know if my math's right, but like 5 or 6 15-minute or even a half-hour session and break it up throughout the day. You're going to get the best results that way. Allowing that time to soak in between. And you hear me talk a lot about, well, let's soak them. Let's put that on the shelf. To keep them engaged. If we're out here and we just saturate them, they kind of shut down. They kind of lose the desire to want to kind of engage with you. And I found that working these guys just kind of, and especially when you, the younger ones, keeping their mind engaged is so important. And so here's what we're going to do here. Now as he goes around and cruises around, I'm just going to kind of go. Now this is a 2-year-old. I'm just going to kind of put my stick up here to kind of prepare him. Just like that. You give me 2 eyes and I'll get out of there. Now you see a lot less reaction, and what I really like what he did is as I got out of there, he kind of followed and came with me. So he's a little bit more, I don't want to use the word trainable. I think they're both trainable, but he's kind of more willing. Makes sense. He's a little younger. Totally makes sense. So as I approach, if at any time he stops and looks at me with 2 eyes, I'll go ahead and stop and quit putting that pressure on. But if he just kind of does his own thing, I'll use that to kind of, as an excuse, or as, you know, to kind of touch him, right? I'm just touching him. And he's a little bit worked up. You start to get quiet though, and we'll go ahead and we'll just leave you alone. That's ultimately what he wants, is he wants to be left alone. So I'm touching him, showing him that I'm not going to hurt him. Right there, he got a little quiet. So I'll kind of take the pressure away, let him start to get engaged. So once I've touched him a little bit with my whip, I've noticed he didn't get super reactive. So then I'll go to my little hook, and we'll see if we can't get hold of that lead rope. Now you notice, by using the lead rope, it is a little bit of an advantage. However, if we didn't have a lead rope, we would do the same thing. I'd start working on the disengage of the hindquarter in the same way, okay? I'm just going to come down here. I'm going to bring this out. We'll just kind of stay with him. Stay with him. You start to get quiet, I'll take it away. We'll break these steps down, right? As you're looking at me, we're going to hang out. You look away. I'm going to use that as a reason to approach. I'm going to hang out, hang out. You see, that's not quite the threshold of what he's right there. He got a little worried, so I'm going to hang in there with that threshold. Right there, I'm going to ease out of there. Okay, so we're just kind of taking little steps to try to get a little closer. I can kind of reach down here now and grab that rope very easily. Okay, now this rope might be just a little bit short, but it's okay. It works. So now I'm just going to really softly kind of start to teach him to. Now he's been pulling on this rope or walking around stepping on it, so he's kind of learned and taught himself a little bit to give to pressure. So I'm just going to kind of stay with him. He's kind of fighting it a little bit. Right there, I'll soften. Good boy. And then I'll kind of put a little pressure. Right there, I'll soften because he kind of hit that halter pressure, and then I'll put a little bit more pressure, see if I can get a step this way a little bit. He's fighting it. Stay with him. Now my position is very important. Good. That was a little dramatic, but that's okay. You're Metro. I get it. But you know, when he got all dramatic there, I was like, it's okay. I'm not worried about it. See, like here, you want to fight me? We'll just stay with you. Stay with it there. You soften. I'll release the pressure. So good position is real important. If I'm holding this and he gets his head around, then his butt's going to come to me. And he's going to jerk me right into his butt and kick me. So I got to be careful about that. So I'm just going to put a little pressure right here. Just get him to kind of soften. Soften. Good. Again, a little dramatic, but he gave. He's not fighting near as bad. But again, we got to remember he's a lot younger. That was very cute. Oh, he wants to be a wild stallion, but he's trying his hardest, but he's really just gentle, soft. I mean, this rascal's as gentle as a dead pig. He's just nice. He really wants to be a tough guy, though, don't you? So that was pretty good. We'll leave that alone for a sec, and then I'll just kind of ease in. Let's see if we can't, just kind of work in, and just like we did oh, that was nice. Oh, yeah. Good boy. So he touched me. You see, we're getting there a little bit quicker. It doesn't mean he's better and she's not. I'm just able to get there, and I'm rolling with that momentum based on what he's presenting. So like we talked earlier, whatever he's presenting is what I'm going with. I'm not sure if this is not the one. We have one little sorrel down there that lets you pet him. This is not the horse. But you got to remember too, this is on my terms, not his. He's still trapped with that halter. So just because they let you pet him in the it's good, but you can see how quickly though this guy is letting me just come up and pet him. Good boy. What a gentleman. Oh, itchy? You do have to watch they don't start to get pushy, right? So you gotta be aware of that. Because I don't want him to think that he can start to be pushy. So I'm not going to get out of there until right there. When he was kind of getting a little pushy, then I'll hang in there. I don't want to release there because I don't necessarily want to discourage that because I don't feel like he's being like, and I got to pick my battles, but I'm not going to give him the release. Good. What a good boy. Okay, I'm going to leave that alone because he's doing so good. We're going to go back to our halter. So we're just going to kind of pick up on this rope just a little bit. And I'm just going to say, hey, can you bring your foot this way? Oh, what a nice gentleman. And as I'm applying that pressure, what I try to do is be very smooth with the pressure. Just pick up a light feel of the lead rope. So I'll tell you right where, see right there, it's making a connection. And I'll just kind of, just real softly, just kind of say, can you get off that soft feel? Like even that I'll reward because he gave me his head. He didn't necessarily give me his foot, but any try, any give, anything I want to reward. So I'm just going to kind of pick up on that soft feel to show him. Now you fight that way, it's going to get a little stiffer, but I'm going to show him which way do you need to come. Let's work this out. So I'm just going to wait him out. Just kind of stay with him. Oh, what a good boy. He's thinking about it. Just kind of hang with him. And just this side's a little harder for him. So I'll just increase that pressure there you go. Good boy. And then we'll try this side. So I like to ask him not forward to give to that pressure, but I cross him up just a little bit to start the process of giving to that halter pressure. So right there, I'll soften it. And then we'll come on this side and we'll say, can we get off that soft feel? Can we get off that soft feel? So I'll smooth, put pressure lightly. And just say, oh, what a nice boy. You see that one? That one was good. That one was really nice. You see how he kind of got soft in his eye right there? And he's kind of like, oh, okay. So we'll say, okay, let's leave. You're 2, so I don't want to do too much more. That's really good. So let's come back in. And let's just kind of say, hey, can I touch you again, buddy? Can I touch you again? Good boy. Because this is what we got to teach him, right, to be able to start haltering him. This is what I want. I want to walk up, that horse to give me 2 eyes, and I go right to their forehead. Good boy. Then we're going to switch positions. I'm going to work this left side. I'm going to rotate just like that, and I'm going to come in, pet the forehead, and I'm going to work my way to a new spot. So I'm going to come down by his jowl. Now, this is a technique that I like to do. If I go straight to that new spot, so say I'm trying to get to right here, and I can touch here, I'll start here and work my way down. If I go to here, it might create a reaction. So I like to work my way down to new areas by not taking it away and putting it on. Once I make contact, I just softly work my way down. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I want to start to get on this left side. So I'll come up. You see how quiet he is right there? I won't put any pressure on that halter. If he starts to get busy with his head, then I'll put a little pressure, like right there, just a little bit of pressure. Good. And then I'm going to work down to this jowl. And I'm just going to kind of work with this halter a little bit. Just kind of rub it. Now you can see those halter knots have actually rubbed the hair off just from him stepping on this drag line. You see why I don't like to keep a drag line on more in a day? But now if I did a couple sessions with this horse, I could take that drag line off. Look at, I can already mess with his tag. He's kind of check. I do need to be careful he doesn't, get too curious, and I got to be careful. I want him to engage with me, but I don't want him coming in like that because I didn't ask him to. So if he wants to come over here, I'll ask him to come in, right? Because if I allow him to start doing things, then that's not fair later on. Why is he allowed to do this but not this? I'm not reprimanding or being mean, but I'm like, I didn't ask you to bring your nose over, so I'm going to gently push it back, and I'll go to you. It's got to be my terms. The alpha horse doesn't allow that other horse to do anything. Remember that. It's good. So again, I'm not going to reprimand him or discipline him for it, but I'll acknowledge it. I'll just acknowledge it, right? And so look, now we're see I was a little bit too nervous, right? He didn't quite want me going to his neck. That was a little too much. So if you run into that, that's okay. Go back to this. Start here and then work down. See, because as I went to his neck, he was a little bit, I can't quite handle that. But we're starting to, and then I'll work down. Let's see if I can get to your wither. Good. And then get out of there. A lot of approach and retreat. Okay. Forehead. Now we're going to try to work on, just because I'm making so much momentum, I'm going to try to work on the dreaded two-hand, because we got to do the two hands, right, to get him used to that halter. So I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to ease into my position. Bring this hand up. Good boy. And this is the dreaded two-hand. A lot of times they don't like this two-hand. So then I'll just work up and start to work on this pole and muzzle. If you can do this pole and muzzle, you can start to halter your horse. This is a great thing. So I'll start down further his neck, and I'll work my way up to the pole. The pole and the muzzle are very vulnerable spots for wild horses. Okay, so I'm just working up very gently. Ooh, that's nice. And he gets quiet, I'll get out of there. And you notice how as I got out of there, he's like, whoa, that's not so bad. Where are you going? So you can just see the differences. There's a lick and chew. Now that being a 2-year-old, I'm going to quit on him right there. Now look at this young lady right here. I'm just extremely happy with. You see how I'm just watching her to see if she's tracking me with those two eyes. Look, what a change from like when we first came in here and she was running around a little crazy, right? It's like that old thing too, that we can go through an event with these horses, right, that kind of gets them a little upset, and that's okay, right, because we work through it. So I'm just going to try. I'm going to actually start on the left side to have a little success over here, because she's a little better with that disengage. But I'm just going to kind of push that hip. Good girl. You notice I don't have my whip. I could. It'd probably be better to have my whip because it gives me an extension, but that's okay. I don't have to have it. Eventually I want to work. Those are tools. Eventually I want her to do it. Good. That was a give. That was a give. It was small, but it was give. Eventually, I want to be able to wean off of these. These are great tools, but that's what they are. Don't allow that to be a crutch, right? It's a tool. It's an extension of me, and they're great to use. I use them all the time, but don't allow that to be a crutch. So let me use my whip here to just pet her. I should get a white one for your mare. Good. So you see she really wanted to pull, and then she worked her way through that very nicely. So and licked and chewed. Good girl. That was much nicer. Okay, so now we're really start giving her that soak. You see how that made a nice little time to kind of soak. Oh, look at that. We're getting there. Okay, so that was all pretty good. You got a couple marks on your legs where you tried to climb out of here. Good girl. You know what I call those? Smart marks. Because they're just a little bit smarter after that. Now I'm going to just see if she can kind of start to give to some pressure. Just real lightly. That was beautiful. Just give to that halter pressure. So you see she had a little bit of fight at first, but we just worked her through that, and now she's just kind of like, oh yeah, I'll give. I won't rear up and try to climb out. And I'm just, again, I'm trying to, has anybody ever driven hydraulics? Like an excavator or tractor? Or how about a stick shift, right? With our clutch, right? We want to be real smooth. What happens when we're really jerky with our hydraulics? Everything's kind of, but if we're real smooth. So same thing, as I'm putting that pressure, it's that feel, right? I want to make that connection, that contact, and just kind of ask her, hey, can you bring your shoulder this way if I pull on you just a little bit? Can you just give to that pressure like that? Good girl. And then we'll come on this side. And I'll just do that soft feel. Can you give to this pressure? Let's just give to that soft pressure. And we'll just teach her. So there she's kind of resistant to it. But what I like is now she's kind of resistant to it. It's kind of bracing against it. But all this drama, Kardashian drama, right, is kind of not there, right? And now we'll come in and we'll say, do you remember this? Do you remember this? So you see I have just a little bit of connection, a little bit of pressure on that lead rope. The second that my hand makes contact, that rope goes soft. But if she goes anywhere, I put connection with that lead rope. So I'm going to release that, I'm going to soften that pressure as soon as my hand touches her, just like that. But if she gets a little busy and my hand's not touching her, I've got that pressure on the rope. Good. Soften right there. So there's a lot of communication within that. Okay? It's really effective. Now I get out of there before she wants to. Okay? So it's real important. When she got all wiggy a little bit. Now I didn't even go to that step where I touched her with the whip first. I went straight to where we left off and she retained it. Right? So now I'm slack on my rope. Pressure on the rope because she got a little busy. She got a little emotional. Keep that pressure on the rope. Slack on the rope. Pet her. Wait till she softens a little bit. Get out of there. Okay? Again, slack on the rope. Give her a chance. That's what I wanted. Okay, so that's where I'll soak. That's a bigger try. So that's where I'll kind of give her a bigger release. Right? I'm still giving her micro releases in between, but you give me a better try and I'm going to give you a bigger release. Okay? I almost want to work with her again this afternoon. A couple days we'd be riding this mare. She's just that cool. Very nice. You see the change there? Beautiful. Never made pressure with that rope. Just pet her on the forehead. Now I'm going to take a little extra time. I'm going to take this halter off. I really don't want to run her back into the chute to take it off. So it's going to be a little tricky. I'm going to have to work my way over there to get the halter off because she's going to go back here. So I'm going to have to kind of do like what I was doing with him. And it might take just a minute. I probably will have to take this halter off one-handed. But I want to take this halter off in here. I don't want to put this horse back through the chute. I feel like we're making such good not that it's like mean or it's I just don't want to do it. I would much rather take a little bit of time and work my way over to take this halter off and then open that gate and let her just walk back down to her buddies. And this is a good technique to kind of show you how I'm going to get on this side. So right there, I'll give her a release. And I just kind of switched my position a little bit. And I'll just gently start working with this halter. You can see she's a little bit worried about that jowl area, but she's doing good. So I'll keep that pressure on there, soften that pressure. Work my way up. Good girl. I'm really getting in her bubble too. 7-3-3-9. What a nice mare. Then I'm going to kind of soften that halter a little bit. Kind of bring it up over her jowl. It's a little tight here. I don't know if I'll be able to do this one-handed. Boy, she's tolerating a lot. She's doing amazing. Stubborn like a mule is what I am. I'm gonna get it. There we go. See how she's realizing I'm not hurting her? Now what's cool about taking this halter off too is that she doesn't like it. And so she's realizing that I'm in this spot. So the next time that somebody comes in this spot, I've kind of saved her from this thing that's attacking her face. That's what's going on in her mind. And so, good girl. I'm just going to kind of slip it right off and walk away. Good girl. What a nice mare. And we'll come up and do just a little second session with him. So you see, if I didn't have any halter on him at all, I could still touch him and we could still work on things. But if I take that halter off too soon, then what could happen is he'll go to, that's a tricky balance, because if I go to touch him and then he pulls away and I don't have any way to kind of put pressure on that, to then I could train him to kind of be evasive too, right? But look at, just walk up and pet him on the forehead. Gus, Gus, you're so gentle. You're just a gentleman, my friend. Can I come over here? We'll work on this halter. Good boy. Good boy, son. Those flies are after something. Whoa, too much. Too much. Now right here, he's kind of not in the best spot because I've kind of got him up against the panel. So really I should kind of step out and, you know, lead him away from that panel, because I've really trapped him and he could spin and kick me a little easier, but I'm just going to kind of ease this halter off. Good boy, Gus Gus. Good boy. Real quick, just while we're here, Eli, can you hand me that yellow thing? If, let's say I did not have, thank you, I did not have the halter on, I could just come in here and approach, right? And stay with him. Keep my whip right about where I had it. When he gets a little quiet there, I release. That would be a great technique to kind of use this to kind of get to where I'm touching him. You see? I'm just going to use him, and then I'll touch him with my stick, right? And then I'll shorten my stick up, right? Work my way up. Pet him up here. Okay, and that would be a way that if you didn't have a halter on, you could kind of start to touch and engage with that horse. You know, another thing you could do, if you really wanted to, is you could use your whip. Now you're not going to stop a horse, but I can use my whip right here, and I could kind of, that's my threshold. I'm not going to go over his neck just yet. I'm just going to stay with him. Right there, we'll soften that. We'll bring it up. That's about his threshold. We'll soften, right? We'll bring it up. I can start teaching him, let's give to that nose. You see, there's a lot of ways you can kind of start working with them with these other tools if you didn't have a halter on. I could bring that around his neck. Now you see, I've not taught him to give to neck pressure, but I can start to, see, just very gently. You're not going to stop this horse with this whip, but look, I can kind of put a little pressure here, soften right there, pull a little pressure. Oh, that was beautiful. You see that give right there? Okay, 69.83. We'll get in here and work with him a little bit. A little bit more 3-year-old, so a little bit more reactive, a little bit more nervous. So I'm looking for him to just kind of check me out. You can see he's just kind of, it looks like the flies have been on him. Got a little bit of a bite there on his neck. So you see he's pretty nervous, so I'm not really going to push him around. I don't want to get him worked up. I'm just going to kind of hang. This is enough pressure, right? And there he's kind of just checking out. So I'll just kind of slowly kind of read that and just kind of hang out with him. Be in his bubble. Okay, let him run around. If he wants to run around, that's okay. Just stay with him. I really don't want him running in circles, but to him, this is a lot of pressure. So we're just going to kind of let him work through this. Hang in here with that pressure. I'm going to step in front just a little bit, kind of. And as soon as he kind of engages, that's where we'll kind of, there. He just kind of gave me a little bit of a look, so that's where I'll walk away. So that first initial little moment, see how he's kind of holding on to that? We're going to let him come down. Steve, here's one that we want to let, see how his tight lip? We were talking earlier about how that mare was just releasing so quickly. I want to let the space happen for him to kind of let that down completely. Let him kind of get a little bit quieter. Once he does give me that lick and chew, I'll try to ease off even more. Okay? So he's kind of not necessarily, so I'll just kind of hang out. We're just going to hang in here. Keep that pressure going. He's just kind of holding it in like a little emo kid, you know. There we go. He softened. There it is. Okay, so he kind of just softened a little bit, and then we'll kind of back off a little bit more. He doesn't really want to he's just a little bit more reactive than the other two that we were working. And we don't really have a halter on him, so we're having to kind of play it by ear. So right here, we'll just kind of work in here. Now he kind of came at me there a little bit, so I'll kind of use that as an excuse to just touch him. Get him used to kind of this whip or the rope that's going to touch him. So we'll just kind of, again, I trapped him, you know. So I'm just petting him. As soon as he kind of quiets down, then we'll stop petting him. So we're just kind of hanging with him. I want him to kind of switch eyes, so if he can, I'm going to try to get in front of him as best I can, because I really just don't want him to just keep running and running and running and running and running. There, switching eyes will help him to kind of, there we go. Stay with him. I like that he's not trying to kick when I'm touching him. He's just more nervous than anything. Step in front. Let's kind of hang out. And just kind of let him work through this. I'm looking for the moment where he, watch yourself. Well, Eli got the first touch. Good job, Eli. Just like a statue. There we go. Now he's starting to relax just a little bit more. But But he's trying whatever he can do. There we go. There we go. There we go. He's like, I need out. So I'm just waiting for him to kind of engage with me. Just kind of wait him out. Easy. As soon as I start to see a slight change, that's where we need to offer him the release so he doesn't start to get into that kind of panic shutdown mode. Right there, he softened just a little bit. Good. Right there. Good. He likes you, Eli. Yeah, you are. Good. Good. Right about there. Easy. Easy. There you go. He's just real agitated. So let's let him kind of think for a second. There, he's licking his lips a little bit. So that was a big deal. We kind of really had to hang in there with him. And sometimes with some of these, you just got to kind of stay with him and get to where I don't really want him constantly up here though, which is kind of where we were. I want to start getting where he gets elevated and then comes down. Then he gets elevated and comes down. When they get up here, it's kind of like that stampede, that kind of just shut down mode. They don't learn when they're there. So just sometimes that initial little kind of push through, it can be tricky, but we want to kind of work towards him eventually just kind of getting quiet. There. He's more just like agitated versus actually scared. He's more just kind of agitated, like he's mad, first of all, that he's not with his buddies. There. Second of all, that I'm just in here. There's a lick and two. Now he's starting to kind of reason a little better. So we had that initial kind of freak out, and just he's more, like I said, he's more agitated. You can see where he's kind of his just whole demeanor. And he's a 3-year-old, so if he starts to kind of, I'm going to say, hey, let's not stick your head through the fence. That's not a good idea. So right in that moment, we'll just kind of hang out, because I don't want his head getting stuck. Whoop, that was cute. Hey. Good boy. Fix my round pin here a little bit. So you can see, a lot of people could interpret that as he's fearful. He's more agitated than he is actually fearful. Because the interesting thing is, when I started to put a little pressure on him to say stop doing that, then he started to kind of actually come down a little bit. So sometimes with these horses, when you give them a little pressure, it doesn't have to necessarily be a bad thing. Good. He's starting to quiet down just a little bit. And I just need to get him to where he's starting to just connect a little bit. Good. Right there. And start to get him to where he's just kind of a little bit quieter with the whole ordeal and not necessarily so worked up. Now I've touched him a lot with that stick and he didn't seem to get too wiggy, so now we've prepared him, so now we'll work on getting the rope on him. And again, I don't want to, if he's coming in here and he's quiet and he's, say he's quiet and he's looking at me with two eyes, I don't want to throw that rope at him, because that's what I kind of want. I want to wait for the rope to get on him when he makes a mistake, like getting worked up or getting upset. That's kind of the idea. And first I want to kind of teach him that this rope's not going to hurt him, and get him nervous about it. You can see that he's kind of just running around like crazy. I didn't really mean to grab his leg there. I just tried to get the loop over so he didn't get head shy, but it's okay. We'll use this as just a form of desensitization. See, I'm putting a little pressure there. Just letting him feel that rope, staying with him. Essentially, we're using our rope to touch him and put just a little bit of pressure. When you get quiet, we'll go away and we'll get soft on that rope. What I can do here with my stick, handy stick, red one, I think it's right over there. I can fix this rope and we can try to get it around his neck and send it around his foot. He's starting to just understand, though, that we're not here trying to hurt him. And if at any time he stops and looks at me, there, I like how he licked his lips there. If at any time he stops and looks at me, I'm going to maybe work on his feet a little bit. If he stops and works or looks at me, then we'll kind of take that pressure away. To show him engaging with us is going to be the answer, and getting quiet. Getting worked up and going into self-preservation mode and running around is not necessarily the answer. Start getting him a little gentle with those hind feet. I don't want to go hard to pulling on him. I just more desensitizing him, letting him kind of touch him. There, we'll get quiet right there with that rope. Get him a little more reasonable, put a little pressure. Good boy. We'll let him kick that loose. That was pretty good. I like that he didn't really kick and panic too bad. You got to remember, there's some broke horses that won't tolerate, I'm a big fan of rope work and roping their feet and good. I do like how he's presenting. He is presenting his left side just a little bit more than his right side. But he is, I still would rather him kind of engage with me. He's still looking to that outside just a little bit more. I want him to kind of start to look to me. And this first, with a little bit older horse, and he's just a little bit tougher horse, I just got to hang in there with him. There. And there's a lick and chew. There. So now he's starting to kind of figure out, but he's fairly stubborn in the fact that, and I saw him down there. When I was down there, the interesting part is he, out of that group of 2-year-olds, he was kind of the dominant. He was pushing everybody around. So that's kind of interesting because he's a little bit more that dominant kind of horse. So, that's why he's not really giving it up. That was horrible, Matt. That was probably the worst shot I've ever done. He's not going to... Can you pull the slack out so he doesn't get caught up in that? So again, he's just more agitated than he is actually fearful. And I'm trying not to get him where I hit him in the nose. So my plan here is as soon as there you go, as soon as he gets quiet, I want to pull back. I want to get him to where he's starting to kind of look to me for that release versus kind of get so agitated and worked up, especially in this heat. I really don't want him getting too worked up. That's why I'm going to go ahead and just rope him so that I can, similar to like I did with the halter, I want to start to get him to where, so he's getting a little busy here, so we'll say okay. If I can. With his head to the outside, it's a little trickier. But you can tell, like, he's not okay. I mean, he's okay with the panels, pushing on the panels. He's not just, so I'm just going to kind of stay with him here and start to teach him to kind of give to that pressure. There we go. Right there. Right there. Just like those last two, though, they're going to have, even to the neck row pressure, they're going to have moments where they don't want to give to that pressure. They want to fight that pressure. Same deal. So we're just, right now, what we're doing is just desensitizing. There we go. When he gets quiet, so do we. There we go. Because I really can't teach him anything if he's just running around being silly. Right there. Good. Good. There's a nice lick and chew. So like we were talking earlier, you know, it's a balance. I, yes, want to get him worked up and teach him to push through it, and support him through it. But I also don't want him constantly all on the fight either. Good. And this horse just has a little bit more fight to him. He would have been a great candidate for that halter, but we don't always have the ability to have a halter on him. So it's good to see kind of, and every horse is different, you know? Good boy. Every horse is different in how they, you know, tolerate us and what we do and pressure and all of it. Good. My goal is to try to start to get him where he's just checking in with me and giving me those two eyes. So we'll just stay with him. Stay with him. Let him kind of fight that a little. There. Get soft right there. Good boy. Right there. His idea of going away. We'll put a little pressure, soften. Put a little pressure, soften. Good boy. Put a little pressure, soften. There. There. He's just kind of on the fight, you know, like I got to get out of here. I got to survive, you know. Good. 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 He's starting to be a little bit more reasonable though. Good. There's another lick and chew. He's starting to come down and get softer. So when he gives me those lick and chews and he starts to, I want to kind of pull that pressure back. Really coax that out. These horses are tough. You know, you get to where you get to a spot and you're like, man, they're really fighting it. They're really fighting it, you know, the willingness, you know. And so we got to learn how to, I found, to just coax that out. Now there's a change right here. He's starting to kind of, a little bit of pressure right here. He's going to fight it again, but then we'll show him there's your release. And we're not here to hurt you. We're not here to ruin your day. There's another lick and chew. So what's interesting is these kind of little tougher horses, you know, they'll kind of be really hard because they'll go through this where it takes a little bit longer for them to kind of work through that. And we got to just hang in there with them and wait for them to start to come down. But then once they start to figure it out, it's a pretty radical change. So I'm just going to kind of put some light pressure right here and just ask him to kind of give just a little bit. There you go. Good boy. He's starting to really figure it out. So I'm doing the same thing I was doing with my halter. I'm just doing it with the rope. I have not as much control of his nose, but if you notice, I can kind of put that rope, see right about there, and I can kind of softly say, good boy, can you give to that pressure? Good. And I'll kind of drive that hip away. Let him kind of work through that. He goes forward, we'll put, there you go. Good. I'm looking for that hind quarter to kind of disengage. So right there, I'll put pressure there because he went forward. Right there, as he disengaged, I soften the rope. Because he doesn't necessarily understand what I'm asking him. So it's important for me to just, even the smallest, tiniest little try, that I kind of reward that. Okay, I'll just ask him softly. Put a little pressure there. There, soften it because that disengage happened. So I try to keep my lariat rope slack until he takes that step forward with his front feet. When he takes that front foot step forward, and then when he rolls those hinds, then I'll soften that rope. Because I really got to make it clear and have good timing of what I'm asking of him. Good. There. Right there. Right there. Good boy. There, he's starting to figure it out. He's starting to soften and relax a little bit. So for that first, 10, 15 minutes, he was really just doing whatever sometimes, it's reality. He was doing whatever he could do to just get away. Didn't care if he pushed on fences. He just wanted to get away. And I just had to kind of stay with him. Now he's being a little more reasonable, a little more manageable. And so we're going to be able to start to make a little bit of progress. I'm just going to work up and just kind of say, hey. 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 Good. Soften right there. Good. Now this right here is a big deal. Being, 10 feet from him and him being a little bit quieter. I'm in this bubble, so I'm just going to take my time right here. And I'll even kind of roll out of there and say good. And then we'll just kind of start that approach and retreat. Approach and retreat. Find the threshold right there. He kind of engaged, so I'll pause for a second. I gotta fix his neck tag. It's over that ear. Right there. Right there. When he engages, we want to release. When he kind of resists or he kind of evades, we'll kind of use that to approach. Good boy. Good. Now here's a trick that I like to do is I'll pet this rope with my stick. He feels the vibration work down that rope, and it's just like the two-hand thing. You can see he's a little bit nervous about that. So right here we'll just wait. That's a good shot. Right in your face. Good. And we're just going to work up, and I want to start petting him. Petting him with my stick. There. I'm going to use my whip. It's a little bit longer. So when he bolts there, you can't quite get a micro release. Micro releases, you know, they're tricky because you get a micro release, you can train a horse really quickly to start to be evasive. And I got to be careful that I'm not accidentally giving him a micro release. When he lunges forward, I really should be putting that contact on him. And with this little bit longer whip, so I'm just going to come up and I just got to get to a spot where I'm touching him. Good. Like that. And he realizes that I'm not hurting him. When he gets a little bit quiet with it, that's when I'm going to release. So I'm just rubbing him on the withers. There was a little change right there. And we got to start somewhere. Good. He's starting to realize I'm not hurting him. Good. And being that this horse, one thing to keep in mind and to remind you guys of too, this horse is a more alpha dominant horse. So he's going to be way more likely, if I put him in a situation where he's trapped, to strike or to kick or to even lunge and bite. So we got to keep that in mind because remember, he's the top. He's used to doing that. He's not being pushed around. So you notice as I go to approach him, he's more like kind of almost wants to like bite at or get aggressive or pushy towards the stick to say like, get away, right? So I need to be aware of that. And I need to make sure that as I do this, that I wait until he is relaxed. See, I gave him a tiny little bit of a micro release there, but it's okay. Staying with him. He would have probably been a very good candidate, all kidding aside, to have with a saddle horse because that would have given me an advantage of, there, that was pretty good. That would have given me an advantage to kind of like get a little bit more of that respect. Couple times when he switched directions, he kind of came at me like he was like, I'm not afraid. Like I'm gonna try to make that go away that I don't like. But I mean, at the same time, we're making progress. He's not running around anymore. He's tolerating me to touch him. He's way less worried. Should have just gave Eli a halter. You probably could have halted him right there. Yeah. He likes you. There's a big sigh. I like that one. I'm going to take this rope off and I'm going to work the other horse and give him a soak. And we're going to come back to him. You know, we made progress. Did I touch him? No. Did I, but here's the thing. We got him a little quieter. I feel like giving him some space to kind of retain this. And he's doing pretty good right now. So it's one of those things that I have to force myself, because I used to kind of have that mindset of like, oh, he's doing so good. He's doing a lot better. Let's ask for just a little bit more. Well, when they're starting to do good, that's the moment and the time that I need to quit, that I need to give him a break, right? If he's doing good, I need to get out of there. Let him think about that, right? I found that's so much more effective. Whereas if I'm, you know, he starts to do good. See right there, he's licking his lips. He's not holding in. So if they're doing good with any kind of training, gentling, riding, groundwork, when they start to give a change and they start to do better, and and this is a rule that I like to do, and I try to think to myself, wow, I should just ask for a little bit more. That's usually where I try to leave. This guy is just a little bit more, okay, so this guy I would say is more reactive and nervous and more fearful. You're like, I don't see the difference between the two. Well, he's more, there you go. This guy's just a little bit more, he's going to be quicker to get to come around because he's going to be more willing and want to engage than that other guy who was just like, don't touch me, don't get near me. Good boy. There you go. This looks like Gus's big brother. I think these are both 3-year-olds. Maybe he's 2. I can't remember. There you go. There's a lick and chew right there. 69.40. Is this 2? This is 2-year-old too? Anyway. So we got 2 2-year-olds. So that gets to show, we had Gus, right? It just goes to show you the differences. They're all 2-year-olds, but they're a little different personalities. So right here, and you can see without the halter, it just takes a little more time. There you go, buddy. He's starting to figure it out. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of walk this way, and as he goes away, I'll put more pressure on him. Keep that pressure on him. When he starts to engage, I take the pressure away. And I just want to start to get him to where he's tracking me. More pressure because he kind of decided to go the other way. More pressure. Keep the pressure. Release the pressure. More pressure. More pressure. Release the pressure. There. More pressure. When he's focused on me, look at that bay horse. He's paying attention. When this guy's focused on me, we'll leave him alone right there. He gets distracted, we'll approach. Stay with him. Good. Now I'll swing around, and now I'm actually going to move him. I'm going to drive him forward, just softly. Move him forward, and we're going to talk about, like I was talking about round corralling, right? We're going to talk about kind of like what we were doing earlier, how I'm not going to really want to back away from him. Okay, so I'm going to just keep pushing him, and then I'll step in front and roll that energy away. We'll come over here, move that hip, and we'll switch the other way. We'll drive him this way. So instead of backing away, I just kind of cut him off, and I look for a spot, like right about there would be a good spot, because he kind of wants to arc to me just a little bit, and I want him to kind of accidentally kind of come in right there. Good. Okay, more pressure. Send him this way. Nope. I'd like you to go the other way. Thank you. Wow. Does this horse have a turnaround? Look how he got on his butt. Send him this way. He is handy. Step in front. Leave him alone. Okay, no problem. So when he's giving me 2 eyes and just quiet, I'll leave him alone. Otherwise, we'll make him work. Okay, send him the other way. So putting pressure on him, moving him, is just another way we can kind of, there. That's better. Much better. And there, we'll even walk away more to kind of show him. But now here's what happens. If I start to lose his attention, right? Then then I'm going to go like right here. I'm going to go back to him. If I start to lose your attention, there's your release. Okay, then we'll come on this side and we'll just start to see if he can start tracking us. That's beautiful right there. Put a little more pressure. Move that, roll that hind. Good boy. Pull the pressure away. So getting that body control, right? Because we don't have the halter to do it. So we've got to do it. Now I'll turn this way and we'll try to kind of walk this way. And if he starts to take a step forward, but look at him roll those hinds. Beautiful. Really nice. And then we'll come this way. So we're starting to get that body control. And I'm rewarding those tries without touching him. Good boy. So this is a good technique. As we go back and forth, we're giving him time in between the releases. Pressure. See how he's dropping his head too? That's a good thing. He's starting to kind of engage. Look at how hooked on he kind of is now. Okay, this is where I want to soak him. We'll come back in, we'll jump in here with him. Sorry, we're going back and forth kind of quickly, but it's just kind of what I feel is going to be the best. Now we'll just walk out and he's like, wait, what? That wasn't so bad. Now let's come back here and see if we can pick up where we left off with Mr. Bay. Old Bay. Okay. Now he gave me, now remember, that horse right there, lower on the pecking order. See how he kind of came around a little quicker? Right? As far as not getting as agitated. Right? Everything was similar, but he came around a little bit. Let's see if this guy remembers anything. I'm going to walk this way. Start to roll that hind. Put a little pressure on him. Okay. Why don't you go ahead and move off then? Why don't you go ahead and move off? Nope, I'd like you to move off. Right? I'd like you to move off. Now he's like, I'd like to stand, but I'd like you to move off. So you can see there's a little defiance here because he's not used to being told what to do. In that pen of 2-year-olds, he's the boss. He's kind of the guy that rules the roost, so to say. I'm going to step in front right there. He kind of gives me a look. I'll just be patient right here. Right there. He kind of gave me the look. So we'll swing around and we'll start pushing that hip. He goes forward. I'll drive him forward. We'll step in front right here. Got a pretty good stop. We'll swing around. We'll kind of arc around, push that hip. Keep that pressure on. There we go. Push that hip. So you see I'm pushing the hip. When he goes forward, then I put more pressure going forward this way. And we will step in front. Swing around. He really doesn't want to give up that right eye too much, which is understandable. So we're pushing that hip and he's just really resistant to it. He's kind of pushing into that pressure. So we're just going to stay with him. And think about having like an imaginary string and pulling that string and pushing that hip, if that kind of makes sense. So we're going to kind of drive him forward again. I might have to rope him again to kind of help him out with that, which is fine, but I'd like to get it at liberty a little here. I'm going to do a direction change. Boy, this horse is fast. Handy. You talk about cutting a cow. Nope. 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 Good boy. Nope. Nope. So he's going to be quicker to disengage on this side because he would like to put me in that left eye there. Beautiful. He would like to put me in that left eye. So that's why when I switched eyes and I put him on that right side, it was, you see how when I stepped in front, he immediately brought that left eye so he could see me, and then I got him to face up. So now let's kind of come over here. He's kind of hooked on there because I gave him a good, ooh, yeah. And we'll come on this side. And I like doing this at a distance, and then we'll work our way in. The goal with this horse is as we start to go back and forth, I start to push on that hip right about here. He goes forward. I keep pushing. I keep pushing. I keep pushing. I'll send him off that way. I want to do it in a different spot, not right there, because that's where he did it last time. So I'm going to do it right over here. Actually, I'm going to do it right over here so you guys can kind of see. Stop. Give him a little swat right there for bringing his hip to me. I want to push that hip away, not bring it to me. Step in front. And we'll try again. Step in front. He got postury and even almost strikey right there. So we'll try this again. And I'll let him know he can be a tough guy. That's what I need. That's just him testing. This is the time right here to earn some respect, because it's only going to get, the more he trusts you, the less he's going to respect you. There. That was a beautiful disengage on this side. Okay, then I'm going to come around again. Push that hip. Now if you notice, he's doing well, but you guys see what he's doing? He's blocking me with his shoulder now because he doesn't like me pushing his hip. So he doesn't like it. So I got to keep that into mind and remember to coax out that softness. And there you go. Look at that one right there. That was really nice. So now we're starting to get some body control with this young man. And he's starting to engage. And you can see this, how we're maneuvering that hip around? He's starting to realize that I'm not being unreasonable. Roll that hind, good boy. He's now giving me those two eyes. So right here's where we're going to soak him. And you can see this is kind of a little bit more like, in comparison to that first session, right? Where we were able to kind of control him a little. This is kind of like watching paint dry, right? But when you think about it, when I first walked in, you can see how this guy's engaging a little bit more, right? Okay, I'm not crazy about that, so I'm going to put a little pressure, and we're going to say, let's not do that. Did I ask you that? Let's roll that hind back. You see, I'm starting to have some body control with him, and I'd like you to just kind of focus on me with two eyes, right? So, yes, I'm not touching this horse and riding him and doing all this crazy stuff and leading him around and him giving it pressure. But in a different way, this is actually more important for this particular horse. If I can get this, because this is the thing, this liberty stuff, you cannot fake it. You don't have a backup. If he doesn't disengage and doesn't want to do it, you don't have a halter to stop him, right? And so this is really an important thing. Now I've found that when you're working with them, the halter definitely makes it easy, but you do need to go back to this body control stuff and get him to, when I ask you to move that hip, like right here, good boy. He does want to put me back in that side, so then I'll come on this side and I'll say, let's move that hip that way. Let's move that hip. Good boy. And you notice what I'm doing is I'm bringing my energy and we're swinging it around and pushing it towards his hip Just like that. So we're maneuvering him with our energy. We're starting to speak horse, and if you notice, he's starting to engage and connect. When I first started, an hour ago with this horse, he did not want to connect in any way, shape, or form. He was pushing through the fence, trying to get away. So this, in my opinion, is progress, right? He's a lot quieter, and this is the foundation. Wrong decision. Where do you need to go? That's right. Good boy. And there's a lick and chew. Remember how he was holding on to it a lot more? Now he's releasing that lick and chew a little quicker. But I need you actually faced up to me before I give you an actual release to get out of here. I need you faced up. Thank you. Right there. That's where I need you. And I need one more, right from right here. Now, if you have a hard to catch horse, here's a great technique. I'm actually going to leave him alone, and we're going to soak him. That's just why I like this. I'm going to put my tools here in the middle. Here's my tools. So now I kind of toss that rope over his back with my whip. You can also use like a training stick like this, a little heavier rope if you want to weigh it down a little bit. So now what I'm going to do is he's kind of giving me two eyes, so I don't want to throw it here. I'm just going to walk. Good. And then I'm just going to walk. I'm going to wait for him to make a mistake. But now he's learned, see? I don't want to throw it here. It's not fair to throw it here. But you want to go away. That's no problem. You can go away. And then I'll just toss that rope. And even if you miss, Steve, it's okay. At any time, if he wants to stop and give me two eyes. But you notice if I toss that rope with that carabiner, just like that, watch. Now I've got that rope on him. Now watch what we can do. You can, a little bit of practice, you can kind of start to toss that a little bit, right? And let the weight of that, so I'm just going to kind of give it a little bit of a toss, right? Now it's helpful if I can maneuver it a little bit, but see, now what I've done is I've kind of created just a little bit of a, now if I get my stick here, and that's why it's important to have this body control, right? I think I need to go just a little bit bigger, give him just a little bit more, but see, I can toss that rope, and I got just a little bit. Now he can spin and get out of this, but we're just basically staying with him. See? Good boy. And I can put a little bit of pressure there. Oh, that was nice. Well, let's just get quiet right there because he's giving us two eyes. Oh, he even licked and chewed, so I'll kind of ease out of there just a little bit. And then we'll just go, this is a nice colt. Really nice colt. Oh, nice disengage there. So see, by establishing that body control before we started to do this has really helped. And now see, I can kind of reach up here with my stick. Maybe, maybe not. I was close. Okay, because you're not going to stop him with this. But see, this now is getting him a little more desensitized to ropes and all kinds of things. There, you got quiet, so we'll just kind of wait. Okay, and then I'll turn. We'll just kind of ease in. We're going to have to start over, and that's okay. So let me do a disengage here. Good. And then let me kind of reach out and just kind of grab that. So you see, Steve, we may not know how to rope, but now we essentially just roped him. Now I can click this on here, right? And we can kind of work that down. You see? So there's different ways to skin a cat, so to say, right? And there's no wrong or right way. It's not to say that using that lariat's better or worse. It's just another way to do it. And sometimes I do it this way, sometimes it just depends on what I'm doing, right? And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say, let me teach you to kind of give to this pressure. So just like we did earlier, we're going to say give to that pressure, just nice and soft. So if you fight it, I'll stay with you. And then when you soften, I'll soften, right? Well, I sure like this colt. He's nice. Good. And then we'll teach you to give to that pressure. So this is essentially just like a lariat, right? Somehow I've hooked that neck tag with my carabiner. That's okay. Good boy. Okay. So that's all good. Then I'm going to go back to the extension of my arm. right? Because I got to get my hands on him. This is my hand, right? So we're just going to kind of stay with him. Now I have my rope so that if he leaves me, I can put that light pressure if I want. You're not going to stop him. So I'm going to bring this up and good boy. You see, this is my hand. You see how non-reactive he is to it? That's really nice. So I'm just going to pet him gently. And then I'm going to release. And then we're going to start shrinking our bubble and shrinking this down. We're just going to pet him real soft. You notice if he's not busy and he's not like trying to get away, this rope is slack. And then we'll shrink it down. If I go straight to trying to touch him with my hand, it might be a little bit too much. But if I can break down the steps, it's pretty interesting how fast. See right there, he got a little nervous. So I'm just going to stay with him, put a little pressure on there, get back to touching him, keep that pressure on until I can get back to touching him. There, soften that pressure, and then I get out of there before he gets out of there. That's real important. I get out of there, but just give me 2 seconds where I can touch you, and then I'm going to give you that release. Okay, so now we'll kind of transfer to my hand, and I'll just kind of come up. Ooh, I like that. See, same deal we were doing with the mare, right? He's kind of engaging a little bit. So we'll kind of come up. You want to check me out? Good. I'll get out of there. Release. So it's that approach and retreat. Okay. Then as I release, I'll bring my foot forward to kind of shrink my bubble down, and then I'll kind of lean in and get a little closer this way. Good boy. As he goes away, I'm not worried about it. I just hold that pressure. And we just say this right here is not as easy as the other, right? So you can go away, and I'll just stay with you. I'll stay with you, right? He got a little hard-eyed right there because he's like, oh, I don't like that. So then I'll get right back up to where I was. Where were we, son? Yeah, we were right about here. And I'll give you a release, but you got to work with me. Good. Good boy. And then we'll come up. And now I'm touching him, and I'll soften that rope. Once you make that initial touch and he's like, oh, this is not, I'm not getting hurt. This is okay. It's pretty amazing how fast you can, but the feel that I have and the amount I'm touching him, the rope goes soft, right? When he starts to pull his head away, I make contact with that rope. That's real important. Like right there, I make contact with the rope. So there's a little pressure there. It's like Ray Hunt says, you make the right thing easy, the wrong thing hard. So right here, he's a little busy. He's trying to pull on that a little bit. So we'll stay with him. I'll start petting him. When he gets quiet, I'll soften. Good boy. And we'll show him this is a lot easier. We'll get that fly out of there. Good boy. And when I'm doing this, I'll try to stay real relaxed. Okay? There. You see how he exhaled right there? When he gives me that softness, I'll kind of get out of there and let him think about it. See how he's licking and chewing right there? We're starting to get some major stuff going on right here. And we'll come back up. Good boy. Now, here's how we're going to do the halter part. Okay? I'm going to come to the forehead and start working my way down and get over to, on this left side to the jowl. Okay? Right about here. Pet him real gentle right there. Now I'm going to get in here to the neck rope, and I'm just going to loosen that up. Loosen that up and show him, hey, I'm here to try to help you. See, I made that a lot softer. See that? I loosened that rope up and made it a lot softer. And I'm going to bring it up just a little bit, so it's right about there. Now I'm petting him on the jowl. Come down to the nose, pet him on the nose. That's real good. Give him a release because that was a lot. He just tolerated a lot right there. Okay? And he's licking his lips. Then what I do is I get my rope. I'll come down here to where the carabiner is, and I'm feeding the rope through. See what I'm doing? I'm bringing this rope, and I'm making a loop through there. Just like that. Okay? Then as I do that, I'm going to make that bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I'm just going to slip this real gently right over his nose. And I just made a halter. That fast. Okay? So now we'll teach him to kind of give to that nose a little bit. And then we can work on putting our rope halter over this. But now instead of his neck, you see, I can control that nose just a little bit. See, I can put just a little bit of pressure right here. And I can say, hey, can we give to that? Can we give to that? Now remember, he's never really had to give to that halter pressure, so he's going to fight it a little bit. Good, as he got soft right there, I'll soften. So not rearing up, he's actually pretty good. And then we'll come on this side. He already knows to disengage in the hindquarter. Look at that. Good boy. And then we'll come on this side. He's a little more resistant on this right side. But see, look at that. Oh, he just took a step forward. You see that? He took one step forward towards me. So I can kind of put a little pressure, come forward, just real soft. And then just keep walking in this circle. Holding that pressure steady. Okay, he disengaged, so that's beautiful. I'll soften right there. So to create softness in horses is really a challenge, and I'm trying to get better and better and better about it. But when I make that contact with that horse right there, I need to maintain that 3 ounces or whatever it is, or increase it until I get him to give to that pressure. Right there. And then right when he gives to that pressure, I need to immediately soften that pressure to reward that, okay? Look at this horse is almost leading. And he's quiet. Wow, that was beautiful. And a big size. So I think that's a great place to quit on him.